Hello guys, this is David all the way from Georgia with the Mentor Talk. And today we're talking about sacrifice. So my mom the other day was talking about this great quote from Mother Angelica. I don't know if you heard of her, but she's pretty amazing. And basically, it goes along the lines of this. Sacrifice in itself does not make us holy. Suffering does not make us holy. It's only when we bind it out of love to Christ's suffering does it have meaning, right? Suffering without love is just wasted pain. Whoa. That's some pretty intense words. She's a pretty intense nun. So, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us here now with Lent? Right? So, sacrifice, way back when, was not something that was looked upon like that was so great and glorious, like, alright, if I suffer, if I sacrifice, I'm gonna go to heaven. It's more like, if you suffered and you were sacrificing, you had something wrong with you. Like, God didn't like you, Satan was probably doing something, you didn't pray a lot, people looked down on you. But when Jesus came around, he told us, love one another. Love with compassion. I don't know if you guys remember when we talked about compassion, right? Suffering with someone. Live with people. Love with people. Suffer with them, right? And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. We're called to, like, if you have a great life here on earth, that means that you're praying well, you're doing things right. He's like, no. Living well on earth is when you're willing to live for others, serve others, sacrifice, suffer, right? And he says, I give you an example to live by. What was that example? That example was dying on the cross. The most epic sacrifice of all time. And that's what we're all called to live now. So understand that during Lent, we have to prep ourselves because Christ is about to die on the cross for us. Right? Christ wants to tell you, this is how you need a sacrifice, right? What better time than being quarantined to think about, wow, like, how have I sacrificed? How have I lived out Lent, right? That sacrifice might come in the form of, having to deal with your younger siblings or having to listen to your parents, right? Who knows? So now, this is the opportune time to sacrifice well, to sacrifice with love, right? To love your parents, to love your siblings, to love the situation that you're in, as hard as it might be. It's time to sacrifice like a real man, like Christ sacrificed, to die to yourself. I know there's soldiers that were out in deployment in Iraq and Iran. And my uncle was saying that when they got back, right, they weren't able to go and live with their families and hang out with their kids and do what they wanted to do, right? They had to go and sit in quarantine for 2 weeks. They sacrificed to serve our country, to do what was honorable. And they had to come back and sacrifice even more when it hurt, right? And if they did it with love, if they did it and they bound it to Christ's love and sacrifice, and they did it right, and they learned what it meant to sacrifice with Christ. So, this is your challenge. To live sacrifice at home. To love at home. All the people around you. Through this quarantine time, through this hardship, let's sacrifice. Let's love, right? Let's bind it to Christ. Let's give it meaning. God bless.